Welcome in to another Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. My name is Gabe Anderson, and I'm joined, as always, by Chris Emerson. Chris, how we doing?
We're excited. We're waiting patiently by our cell phones like everybody.
Yeah, we are. I got to be honest, I got very little work done today at work once the Conley trade went down. And we're joined by a very special guest, Andrew Dukowitz of Zone Coverage MN. Andrew, how you doing?
Bittersweet, right? Mike was one of my favorite guys to talk to in the locker room, so it's going to be really weird not having that locker to go stand by when I have nothing better to do. But, hopefully he goes to a team that he has a chance to win still, and hopefully this turns into something good for the Wolves.
So let me ask you this, because I could see Mike retiring. You think he will be bought out by another team, or bought out by the Bulls probably, and then go to a team where he can compete and try to win that championship that we unfortunately couldn't get him?
Oh, definitely. Like I don't think he's going to stay with the Bulls. I don't think, this trade, I think in the background conversations of it, there probably was something around like, hey, if you can't reroute Mike to like Denver or New York or someplace where he can just be a good vet at the very end of a bench, just buy him out so he can go somewhere. I mean, Kyle Lowry's still gainfully employed in the NBA. Like, people are always looking for those long-term vets that just sit there and like help players out, like what he did for the Wolves for all of this season. But yeah, I think he'll be on a different team. I would be surprised if he even reports in Chicago. Like, it just doesn't seem like it's even worth it for their locker room to bring him in for just a week or two.
Right, for sure. I would say it makes sense for him to go to back to Memphis, but that doesn't make any sense anymore unless it's like a legacy kind of thing. But we'll get that back into that in the tail end of the show. Let's get into what everyone is here for. Andrew, I just want to ask you straight up, and then I'll go to you, Chris. In your mind, are we trading for Giannis in the next 2 days?
I don't think so. I think there's too many moving pieces in it, the salary side of it. Then at the end of the day, like, unless Giannis is making this situation unbearable for Milwaukee, like, what's their incentive to move him now versus the offseason? So I unfortunately don't think it'll happen yet. I will put the caveat yet on it.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I kind of agree with, where it's almost like the Milwaukee Bucks are seeing the interest for Giannis, seeing what they can get. And let's be honest, barring an injury, which Giannis is probably not going to get injured, because if he stays with the Bucks, he's probably not going to get injured. I mean, he's probably just going to sit on the bench and just wait out for the offseason. I think they're just gauging interest. Chris, what do you think? Do you think that the Wolves are going to end up with Giannis? We lose you, Chris? Oh, good.
Yeah, I think I'm here now. I think Giannis might be. I think there's more of a possibility than I think Andrew thinks. Or I think we might be part of the deal. Like, it might be that Giannis wants to go to Miami, and maybe the Bucks don't want Hero and some of that package. So we're going to be, it'll be like a three-team dance, and we might not get Giannis because I do have some questions with his fit with, next to Rudy, if Rudy's not involved. So, and if you get Giannis, you kind of have to, like, the whole offense has to change. So it would be a big move in the mid-season. As Andrew said, maybe in the off season, but you're talking about why the Bucks would want to move him now. He's got a player option after next year. So, like, he's sort of a lame duck guy. So he could, maybe say, well, I'm only going here, or else I'm just going to sit out and walk, because he's the kind of guy who might do that. So I don't think it's a no. I think it's possible. It's weird for us to make this move and supposedly not take back Kobe White, which seems like a perfect piece for us, just to get under the cap, under a luxury tax. And I hope it's not just for saving money.
Right. So let's go to that, Andrew. There was that report from Ryan Windhorst that the Wolves in the Mike Conley deal actually passed up on Kobe White. They could have had him apparently. What do you think is the rationale on that, or do you think that's a false report? Like, do you think that Windhorse is making stuff up there? That seems weird. That if I don't know, but it seems weird if they're not going for Giannis and Kobe White was their target, as it was kind of reported. It seems weird that they would just pass up on Kobe White altogether, unless they knew something we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say from like my perspective of, obviously I'm not John Krasinski, Dane Moore, like I'm kind of the level under the big leagues, right? But like nothing leaks from this team. Nothing. Tim Conley doesn't have leaks. So like when you're seeing all of the things of like Kobe White is a target of the Bulls, you can kind of look at every one of those at kind of where it came from, and it's usually a Chicago reporter or someone national, which to me tells me they're saying, hey, third team involved, Kobe White, Wolves really want him. They've called on him, and they're not lying. Like, I'm sure they have called on him, but
right.
I just hesitate to think that the interest was that much there for Kobe White. I mean, if you were to trade, like, you know, even if they offered Kobe White and all you would have had to do is like throw Rob in to make the salaries like work better, you're looking at Kobe White, who in the playoffs is probably playing 10 to 15 minutes, and then he leaves in free agency. Like, is it worth it to bring that back? And then there is the financial side of it, which, Chris, I know you mentioned, like, you hope it's not a financial deal, because this team, this city especially, I mean, with all of the twin stuff that goes on every single year, like when you hear someone's traded for cash, it kind of sparks PTSD. But like, by trading Mike, the ownership group saves like $28 million in luxury tax fees and Mike's contract, and 20 million of that goes to the other owners, not to like Mike. So I do think it is possible that this deal was to duck under that luxury tax, that first apron. They do coincidentally have $100,000 more available than what a veteran's minimum would cost them to sign after the buyout market. I do think that's a possibility that it is. And with Kobe White, it's just, again, from kind of being around the guys and kind of being around the team, like, it just doesn't really seem like that was someone they were like. If they were going to go after Kobe White, I think the deal would have been done weeks ago. Like, they have the assets to get that one done. If all he really is worth at this point is a couple second rounders, like.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting to see where he will go, because that's the report going on right now, is that the Bulls were trying to get some first-round capital for him, and they just couldn't do it, particularly on an expiring contract. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we were kind of high on Kobe White on this show just because of his scoring upside and just
really good player.
Yeah.
Really good player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris,
what if this is the buy? What if Kobe? Yeah, what if Kobe White gets bought out, and instead of having to give up something to pay, I mean, we would still be able to get him at that veteran minimum, I believe.
It would be weird.
I mean, who knows? Maybe this is like some 3D chess.
I don't think it would be weird for a team to buy out somebody that's like in their mid-20s. I think what is most likely is they have
40 guards right now.
I know. I think what's most likely is someone just finally offers a first, like Denver or something. Finally offers the first round, and then he just ends up there. I mean, weirder things have happened. I'm not saying it's an impossible thing, but usually the buyout market is like your Kevin Loves, your Kyle Andersons, your Kyle Lowry, the people that do not inspire a lot of hope for adding a big piece for the playoffs. Yeah.
Right. Just, you know,
or a big contract that they're trying to get under.
Yep.
Yeah. Or, you know, like the 8, 9, 10 guy who just at the end of the bench, break glass in case of emergency kind of thing. So I'll throw it to you, Chris, and then I'll throw it to Andrew as well. If it's not Giannis, Chris, who are you looking at? Like, who are some other guys you could see the Wolves going after in the next day and a half?
I mean, to be honest, what I've always wanted to add to this team is a third playmaker. I mean, preferably a guard level guy that can, score and create off the dribble. Cause I think it's easy to get Ant taken out of the game come winning time. They can double him, and then you've just got Randall with the ball, and that's a lot to ask out of a power forward. So, I mean, Simons was one of the guys that I liked as an option for that. He's now maybe on a move. Sometimes these things are like parts of like 7-team deals, and things can be changed around still. So who knows? Tyler Hero is a guy that I mentioned. I would love that. I would like, I know he's hurt, but I liked Ivy. I mean, Ivy was moved. Like, there's a lot of guys that I thought had potential to be that sort of filler at not a huge cost, that Kobe White, like that were used. Lauri Markkanen, who knows? I think it would be crazy for them to break up that team now, because it seems like the Jazz kind of have something going. But they've always been saying they want to move Lauri.
How about this division going? This division? Oh my gosh. Like what it's looking like, what this division's shaping up to be. Who we got to play 4 times a year? Oh my gosh.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but let's go to you, Andrew. Who are you looking at? Like, are you just looking at like the Kyle Andersons of the world? Like, we looking at a Kevin Love reunion? Like, is it? I think you're thinking smaller than a lot of people on the internet, which is great, because we need other perspective. And no. Here's why: because we as Wolves fans, we're hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. So it's easy to put out a tweet saying, "Oh man, this Giannis thing, this is going to happen 100%. Buy your jerseys now." But It may be more realistic to say, "Hey, look at this guy on the buyout market that can fill, like 10, 15 minutes here and there." Who are you looking at? I know last time we talked
or something.
Yeah, I know last time we talked, you said Jock Landale, who unfortunately got traded, so he might be he might be out. But who are you looking at? Like, is it Kyle? Is it Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, first I'll preface it by like everyone that's out there. A lot of media members are kind of fueling the Giannis thing because like it gets clicks, right? Like it does. That's why ESPN's leading the show with Giannis and Ant pairing. Like, that's why there's all these rumors. Like, there is some truth to the rumors, obviously. Like, I don't know how much truth there is, because again, this organization is actually well run and there isn't leaks, and Tim Conley isn't going on K-Fan and talking about it. But I look
I'm
at
glad
like
you
what
say
they
that,
have.
by the way.
What's that?
I'm glad you say that, by the way, because I get a lot of pushback with that when I say, come on, guys, these guys are just giving educated opinions. Like, if Tim Conley isn't spilling the beans to a guy who's his only job is to tell people, like, that's not how you keep secrets. So I'm glad someone from your credentials is pointing out, we're doing our best, but this isn't insider baseball as much as some people think.
Yeah, I think when David Kahn was here, there was a lot of inside baseball. Like, I think that guy talked a lot. I think Gerson Rosas talked a lot. Tim, I mean, other than saying hi and asking how my dogs are in the hallway, I can't say I've said more than 5 words to him since the summer. And that's how he is with everyone. Right. That's how he is with John, Dane. Like, there isn't. And again, like, that's the sign of a well-run organization. Like, Boston doesn't talk a lot. Like, the Spurs traditionally don't leak anything. Like, it is a good thing that none of us know what Tim is thinking, because like, if we know what he's thinking, every other GM knows what he's thinking. Like, that's not good for business. But I look at what they did kind of with their deal. They free up that money for obviously to sign like any buyout. Now that they're not in the first apron, regardless of money, they can afford any buyout, which is one thing. But also it gives them a little bit more wiggle room of like, if you want to just trade like Lenny in 3 seconds, you can bring back a guy that makes like 6.5 million. So then you're kind of in the like, Dean Wade, I think would be like a fine shooter.
Raise a banner, baby. Raise a banner.
Like, again, Ao DeSumo,
I love it.
He fits in that.
Right.
You could trade out Lenny couple seconds, maybe get Ao back. Max Christie, if Dallas is looking to blow it up a little bit more. I know he's had a really good season so far, but kind of same. Those are kind of the guys I'm looking at first. And then after that, it's like, okay, well, now if they trade Rob and Lenny, they can take about $15 million back. So you scroll down, you know, the basketball reference salary cap sheet. And that's where you get to like your Jordan Clarkson, your Bogdanovich from the Clippers, your Terrence Manns from Brooklyn, Max Strus from Cleveland. Like they just have more wiggle room now to make kind of a less flashy deal. Like it kind of, in my opinion, the top 6 guys on this team are locked for the rest of the season. Again, unless they can pull off a Giannis deal. I think if Milwaukee agrees to something, then you do that, just because at this point, like you might as well. I mean, not pairing Giannis, the 3rd or 4th best player in the league, with Ant, the 6th best, is probably some GM malpractice if you can pull it off. But I think it's more in that secondary, like, how do we add a better
quality role player?
Yep. Like we have a 6-guy rotation we're confident with. Bones can kind of give you it some nights, other nights can't. Johan, I think they feel pretty comfortable with, but they need that 7th guy in a playoff series that they can go to reliably. So that's where I think the last thing I'll add, and I kind of want your guys' thoughts on it, of like this offseason for the Wolves is just every door is open. I mean, Julius and Nas can get you to about 55 million in salary cap. They'll have the 2033 unprotected first, the 2032 pick swap, and their draft pick that they get if they keep Rob, if they keep Johan, if they keep TJ and Jalen. I mean, they're going to be able to go after anybody in the league. I mean, there really isn't a guy, when you're looking at like the stars that might be unhappy, that if you traded Julius, Nas, Rob, Johan, Clark, and 3 firsts, that team would say no. So it's like, should the Wolves, does it make more sense for them to maybe just do a minor move at this deadline? And then you're talking about, you know, Donovan Mitchell, rumored he wants out of Cleveland. Do you pair Mitchell and Ant? You just mentioned whose name, Markkanen from Utah. Like, I think that makes a lot of sense. Ant Markkanen. I just think it makes a lot more sense that they do this big swing in the offseason where they get those picks unlocked. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll go first on this. I agree, because, sorry, not to put my cards on the table here, but I've been scared sick of a Giannis trade for the last, like, ever since it came out. And you can even go watch the last podcast we did on this, me and Chris. I'm scared of this for sure. I think he's an aging veteran guy who's had injury issues. Now, Chris debates how much of those are actually injuries and how much of those were just him sitting out for a situation like this. But I mean, he is a big guy. He is 31 years old. He's getting up there, and just selling the farm for him would be interesting. Like I said, I would like to see this team with, like you were saying, a 7th or 8th option, like an Ayo DeSumo or even a Kobe White. Maybe Kobe White's off the table, I don't know. But just something, or even a Colin Sexton, if that's possible, but something just to raise the ceiling of this team a little bit. Because, I mean, it's really the same team as last year, just minus a little point guard depth with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And that is not underselling what Nickeil Alexander-Walker did, because obviously he was a huge part of particularly that 17-4 run at the end of the season. He was a huge part defensively in the playoffs, and a little bit of shooting as well. But I'm just wondering if you replace that a little bit and do a little situational. I mean, yes, they had a bad game last night, and could we have not had the Memphis trade go down before that game? Couldn't they have done that a night before? So Jaren Jackson Jr. can't go off on us again. Like, come on, Memphis. Like, you knew you were trading him. You could have easily traded him way before that game, or sat him or something. And, yeah, and then we can't. Yeah, it's the most Minnesota thing ever.
Just to interrupt real quick, I do want to just say, like, my stated position on my podcast, everywhere that I've guested on the last couple days, has been, I want this core to stay together. Like, selfishly, Jaden's my favorite dude to talk to in the locker room. They're kind of new, young, big 3. I want to see where that goes. But I mean, you put Ant and Giannis together, that's going to be a really, I'm glad I'm not Tim, because that's a ridiculously tough decision. But I want to give it back to you.
Right. Yeah. On that, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, right?
Yeah.
Because if Giannis goes to Miami and wins a championship, then you're like, well, was that a mistake? Or
should have done it.
Yeah, or if Jaden falls off or something, then it's like, well, but I don't know. I on that note, I think the safer move is to stick with what you've got, stick with Jaden, stick with the core that you've created, because at that point you're like, hey, these guys are younger, these guys cost less, see more flexibility. But yeah, man, I do think in the offseason, like even you were mentioning there, like I started thinking about it for the offseason, just some of the flexibility we had, like Ant and Donovan Mitchell, are you kidding me? That's the best backcourt in the entire league. Instantly.
Keep Jaden and add Sabonis. Get Pascal in here and keep Jaden, and then you have like Ant, Jaden, Sabonis. Like they're just going to have it. To me, I'm just looking at the tea leaves of this offseason might be pretty wild.
I love it. Go ahead, Chris.
I like it. I like it from a couple different aspects, maybe even different than what you're saying. I like it because how many years has this quote unquote core we want to keep together been together? Now 6, going on 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked about this a lot of times. I know Jaden's everybody's favorite player. He's not mine. Jaden is what Jaden is. Same as he was a rookie. You look at his per 36, it's almost the same every single year. He's going to give you 12 points. He's going to give you 4 rebounds. He's going to give you 2 assists. To expect a huge jump in year 7 and 8, like that's, I'm not saying it's never happened in the NBA, but when you've got 400 games played and started or whatever, you kind of are what you are. Same with Naz Reid. I love him, and I think he's super valuable. And he is adding a little bit more of a shot, a little more frequency. But, these guys are probably kind of who they are at this point. And if we go through this offseason with a little move like we do now, and we end up, falling short, it is going to be a time where it's like, okay, we gave it a full effort. Like some would even say, being myself, maybe even a year and a half more than we needed to, should have sold these at a higher value. But at this point, we've tried it. We've kicked these tires. Now let's blow it up and build around Anthony Edwards, because these guys are solid role players, and I'm not saying they're terrible players, but $25 million isn't chump change. That's real money. Nas is making 20. That's real money. Put those two together for a first ballot Hall of Famer like Giannis, like you're talking a big name in the offseason. 100% I do that. Because in my opinion, we know what we have with this roster right now. Like, unless Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to all of a sudden go for 20 a game, or Dillingham's going to erupt, you don't have a lot of big moves coming even forward with the draft picks we have. They're late firsts, if anything. So we know what we got, and I think it's not enough.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And that's why, like we were talking about the bench, how bad the bench has been this year. I think if you take away, and I'm not saying we give away bench players, but you give away like Nas and you give away like Jaden, like the third and fourth hand scoring pretty much goes away, and it's just Giannis and Ant and whoever comes in, like a Gary Trent or whoever comes in. We were talking Amir Coffey maybe too, but that's inconsistent. I don't know, man. It just seems like it's stripping your future for a lottery ticket, which may hit big. It could hit big. It could be like a $60 million lottery ticket. But at the same time, we've spent so much time investing in these players, building this up that, man, I don't know. I don't know if Giannis is the move right now. Let me ask you. Go ahead.
Just real quick, just to kind of piggyback off of what Chris was saying, was just like this offseason, another reason I tend to think that's the way to go is because these type of deals, other than Luka, which I think Dallas is a uniquely, the guy's fired now for the Luka trade. So I read into it.
That's a weird situation.
That's a weird situation, but like Kevin Garnett going to Boston, right? They trade Al Jefferson, who was their starting center, huge piece. They trade Gerald Green, who is a starting small forward, Sebastian Telfair, their starting backup point guard. Like, they traded the farm for KG. You fast forward a couple of years, and when Shaq goes to Miami, they traded Caron Butler, like finished third in rookie of the year a couple of years early. They trade Lamar Odom just off of a 19-point game. 2 first-round picks go along with them. Like, the teams that do these massive trades usually have to revamp their entire roster around it. So like if the Wolves are to make this trade now, you're kind of acknowledging that like this season is just going to be a lost season and you're getting ahead of what you could do this off season. Whereas if the trade doesn't materialize and they just wait until the off season, they can kind of at least still just kind of like what you said, Chris, like we're giving them the benefit of the doubt, like go see what you can do. If you guys want to stick together, go win a ring. But historically speaking, like these things go in the off season, and like Gabe, to your point, like you're selling the entire future for a guy this good. It worked out for the Celtics and it worked out for the Heat. It certainly didn't work out for Houston when they got T-Mac, but there's always kind of, for every one that hits, it seems like there's one that didn't. Clippers with Kawhi, New Jersey with Vince Carter and Jason Kidd. I mean, there's just always examples of the failures, but then there are the ones where it succeeds and it's like, holy cow, like, can that happen for them?
By the way, I'm sorry, Chris, hold on, Chris. I really got to jump in here because you were talking about the Clippers, and I know this is NBA draft sound right here, but what is it, a Shams bomb? Well, I don't know what it is, but the Los Angeles Clippers are trading James Harden to the Cavs for Darius Garland and a second-round pick. So that is now in. James Harden is teaming up with Donovan Mitchell. So just quick reaction to that.
I didn't want him here, so that's good.
I also didn't want him here, so
I didn't either.
Good for Darius Garland too. Like that guy's been having to play like out of position and kind of weird for a while. So it'd be fun to see what he can actually do with an offense to run.
Right. And
I'm a Darius Garland fan, so that'll be good. I'm happy.
He's not the youngest guy, but it's weird that is a youth movement for that team. Like that's the Clippers getting younger, which is crazy to talk about.
Probably 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, Culver was in that 2019 draft, 2018 draft. Jarrett Culver and Garland were in the same draft. So I mean, that's a decade younger than James Harden.
No, we haven't said Jarrett
talking
Culver
about that
for years.
Purposefully. Talking about that, the trading in the offseason, I think the only way it would make sense, like you're saying, for us to make that Giannis move is if he was our target, like for maybe the year. Like maybe he's been Tim Conelys' target for some reason. And he's like, in the summer, everyone's going to be trying to bite at that bone. You know, everyone's trying to get that. And maybe right now we're the best offer that's out there. So, I mean, that would be the only reason I think but I don't love the fit. To me, I love the fit if we can move Rudy. Like if we can say, Giannis, you're now the center. Like you're not going to be bringing the ball up. You're not running the offense. You're running pick and roll. Yes, you're going to have sometimes, but you're going to play off the ball. You're going to be a defensive monster. But I think you're right. I'm starting to see more. Probably offseason makes more sense because your options are limitless.
Right.
And you can trade Rudy in the offseason a lot easier, right? Like the kind of going the kind of like what we have understood as Wolves fans is that any major change around Rudy takes about a year to actually work. So NBA teams kind of, I think, get that as well. So I think Rudy would be a lot easier to dump in the offseason too and reset that way,
and one less year on that long contract.
Yeah. He just has 1+1 left on his contract this offseason. So I do think Rudy, if they do the honest thing, I agree. Like I think Rudy's probably out of here shortly before or after it, unless it's during the season. Then we just get to watch weird basketball, which wouldn't be the first time.
Well, those two would be a monster defensively down low.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone would be shooting threes for sure. I guess. But how about the what you were talking about earlier, where the media doesn't know what they're talking about because sorry, but
Well,
the whole narrative was before. Oh, that nothing's gonna happen until the Giannis domino falls, right? Like, it's all we're all waiting on Giannis. We're all waiting on Giannis. Well, it looks like a lot of teams are not waiting on Giannis. So I'm almost wondering if either that's a sign that it's not going to happen and teams know that, or it's a sign that hey, we don't care. We're gonna go do what we want. Like the Celtics are gonna go get their center, or Utah is gonna go get their power forward. Because that was the whole narrative was, oh man, wait for the Giannis domino to drop and then everything will come. Well, not really.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of, I mean, the guys that have moved, like James Harden made a trade demand, like Kawhi's getting asked about it in the locker room. Like, you can't keep that guy around. It also kind of sounded like maybe the CP stuff had a lot to do with like James Harden and Lou. So maybe now Chris Paul kind of enters back into the fray. I think it's probably 50-50. Teams that are looking at what the Wolves can offer, and they go, well, the Wolves are offering Jaden and Nas and Randall to a third team for Giannis. We have Darius Garland and some second round picks. We're probably not getting Giannis. Let's go get Harden so we can shore this thing up. Like, the Celtics are looking at it of like, we'd have to include Jaylen Brown. He's a borderline MVP. Like, we'll just go get Vucevic went there.
Vucevic, yeah.
Like, it just, I think some teams are just looking at what the price would be mid-season, and they're kind of just going, we're better off just fixing what we can. Detroit, perfect example. Like,
and like you said, knowing it's going to ruin their team that year.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is a big point that isn't as talked about, especially like when you're watching ESPN or you're seeing the alerts go through of just like, if you give up 3/5 of your starting lineup for Giannis, you're not competing this year. Giannis is also out injured for 4 to 6 weeks. He's not supposed to come back until March. Like, it's just kind of over this year if you make the trade, but then it's next year. You're going to have a full off season. You're going to have your asset and Giannis already figured out. And then it's kind of off to the races. But yeah, it definitely, if you think you have a title chance this year, that's why the Spurs, I don't think, are looking at it too hard. Oklahoma City obviously isn't looking at it. I think in the off season, again, to your credit, Chris, those teams probably get in the conversation. So if the Wolves feel like they can pull this off without Spurs, Oklahoma City, Orlando getting involved, maybe that does kind of force their hands to do it mid-season and punt. But yeah, I still think my gut feeling is just it'll go into the off season and there'll be this crazy bidding war after the draft.
Yeah, I think so. And the more I talk to you, the more I get convinced about it, because you go on Twitter or social media and it's just like Giannis this, Giannis that. Even our sponsor 612 Tees, I asked him if he has a Giannis shirt ready, and he says he's getting it ready. So we'll see if we need that in a couple days. But man, it's just interesting. You get a different perspective because you obviously you get the opportunity to get one of the best players in the league, and everyone's ears perk up, and it's the sexy thing. And let me ask you this, both of you. I'll start with you, Chris. If the Wolves do make a move for Giannis, and I know we've been kind of putting it down, but if they do it like now, I'm not talking in the offseason, who are the Wolves, or who are you personally going to miss the most? Like, let's say of Julius, Nas, and Jaden, who are you going to miss the most, Chris? And then I'll go to you, Andrew.
If we have to give up all three of those guys, I would say it's Julius for me. I don't have any really emotional connections to anybody, these guys. Like, I'm a grown man. Like, I've went through a lot of players where I've watched them come all the way up and I've loved them and they've gone. Like, I don't care that we drafted this guy late and he's been better than we thought. Like, good for him. This is a business, like, rip off the Band-Aid. I would hate losing Julius out of that package because, like I've said before, I think we need three people that can make offense happen. right now we have 2 on our team, and one of them's Julius. I mean, he leads our team probably still in assists for a reason. He's kind of the whole offense runs around him. If the ball's moving, he's touching it sometime in that good offensive possession. If we lose him, I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, we would need to add then still another ball handler. If we lose Jaden, I'm sorry, how are we going to replace 12, 4, and 2? I think we can do that. If we lose Nas, I mean, there's some shooting and there's some bench scoring that we're going to have to replace because we don't have guys that have that pedigree to step in and perform. It's a lot to say, hey, you have to shoot a lot and score guys aren't used to that. So, yeah, I mean, it would be Randall just because I want to win, and zero emotion ties to any of it.
And then Andrew, by the way, just for everyone else, I'm higher on Jaden than Chris is, and it's always been that way. But anyway, go ahead, Andrew.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm higher on Jaden too. I mean, he's averaging 45% from 3. I think he's kind of a shoe-in for an all-defensive team this year. But that being said, he's on a championship team. He's probably your 4th or 5th best player.
Yep.
Just realistically, there's going to be another Jaden. There's going to be another wing defender. I mean, there's a reason Trevor Ariza got traded 11 times and was a starter on 15 different teams. It's because those guys are in demand, but you can acquire those guys as well. I mean, mine's more personal because I interact with these guys. I do charity events with these guys. Yeah. I see them multiple times a week. So for me, it is Jaden just because getting to know him, he's just a really good dude, does a ton of work behind the scenes with urban ventures and different charity things. Just pulls up to random barber shops and buys everybody free haircuts. He's just
that's awesome.
A really good dude. So for me, it's it's gonna hurt to see a good human get traded to a team that I'll hopefully never have to cover in Milwaukee. But I would side with Chris from a basketball impact standpoint. And if you were to take all personal feelings out of it, Julius has been awesome. He's right now in the running for that all NBA 3rd team. He's a legitimate all-star snub. The guy's been a revelation. And I think when you look at this offense, if Julius leaves and it's just Ant for 4 weeks, that's going to be tough sledding through February and a lot of just dribble ISOs. So Jaden, definitely the person I'll miss the most personally, but I think the team will kind of fall apart if Julius gets shipped out with nothing immediate coming back.
And I think that's what a lot of people are missing here. And you were both mentioning it. If we get Giannis, the season is pretty much over because he's not going to play for a while. I mean, the good news is you have the All-Star break coming up, but who knows with the end of this season? If you have 2 bad weeks, if it goes south for 2 bad weeks and it's Ant and who's ever left and some buyout people, that's probably not going to go well, and it's going to be tough for you to come back. And maybe you're looking at an 8-9 seed or something like that, and you got to scrap your way in. Now maybe you can catch fire at the end with Giannis back, but I mean, you look at the last few years, and I know it's the team around him. Giannis hasn't been too hot in the playoffs either. In fact, I think he missed. I think he played most of this playoff series, the last one, but the ones before that, I think he missed 23, 24, and he's missed a ton of playoffs. So, man, I don't know. It's for me, who I would miss the most, and I know this is what you guys both said, but man, just Julius. And I know that people get on him because sometimes it seems like he's just dribbling into nothing, but Julius made a huge step in the end of last year and into this year, where when Julius has the ball, most of the time, sometimes he dribbles into oblivion. Most of the time, I trust what he's going to do. When Julius first got here, I did not trust when Julius got the ball that the best outcome 70 to 75% of the time was going to happen and he was going to make the right play. Now I absolutely do. But yeah, I'll miss Julius for sure. Nas, I'd miss him a lot just because, that bench, we need, as much as people say, Nas Reed has to start. Well, what does that leave our bench with? You know, like what you still need
Rudy off the bench would not be ideal.
No, that would be horrible. And Johan, I mean, he's there, but he's not going to put up what Nas can do off the bench. Like he'll put in 10, maybe you give him 20 minutes or 25 minutes. But yeah, no, I don't know. It would be hard for me to give up Julius at that stage. I'm not saying for anything. Plus, Julius's contract is great. Like it's really great. Tradable. So let's take a quick pivot here. And Andrew, I know you started off the show by saying that the Wolves lost today, one of your favorite locker room guys. What does it mean for the Wolves to be losing Mike Conley? And overall, what will be Mike Conley's legacy for the Timberwolves as kind of his last stop or his last major run in the NBA?
Yeah, it's part of like an indictment on the Wolves franchise overall, but like he probably goes down as maybe the second or third best point guard in franchise history. Like Stephon Marbury, I think you'd put ahead of him, but he had a very short career here. I think Mike gave more juice than Terrell Brandon. Mike certainly made it to more Western Conference Finals than Sam Cassell and had maybe about the same impact. So I think he's going to go down as like a really beloved Wolf and a guy that people look back on of like, wow, that might have been one of the best trades in franchise history when you consider it was D'Lo for Mike, Nikhil, and a couple seconds. I think the Wolves, though, like that locker room, you know, I've written about it a couple times of just like they depend on Mike so much. Like if a guy is having like issues with a school, they go to Mike and ask what to do. If they have issues with their relationships or their shot or life or anything, like Mike's kind of the dad in that locker room that all these guys kind of just go to on a daily basis. He has text chains with everyone, like super close independent relationships with everyone. And he is kind of Finch's mouthpiece in the locker room. Like when Finch is trying to get a message through and it's not landing right, like Mike and Joe are the two guys that kind of go and like reinforce that message. So I think behind the scenes stuff, it's going to be a tough blow for these guys, but at the same time, it really depends what they're going to do next. Like if they do sign a buyout guy that makes a big impact, it's probably not felt as much. I mean, heck, Mike could get rerouted to a third team and then cut and then just sign on a vet minimum and be back here in 2 weeks. There's always these weird kind of scenarios that can happen. But I think at the end of the day, like the locker room kind of morale side of it might take a bigger hit than anything else.
Right. And what's interesting, we've talked about it, is that as even though this is kind of a veteran team and it's kind of trending towards a veteran team, there are a lot of times that the Wolves show their youth. Like, for example, like Jaden McDaniels sometimes, or Ant with some of his antics as well. Even Rudy, I know he's a veteran, but he can, he has like some of the most like flagrant fouls in the entire league. This is kind of an old, immature team, and you kind of need Mike Conley in there. But the thing is that he's just been so bad on the court. Like I've seen actually some upside defensively. I still think he can bring something defensively. I've seen some times where he makes a nice play on a dribble drive or a nice recovery or a steal. But when you're shooting like 20% from the field and they need you to perform and your floater game has completely gone away, it's time to go. But as far as legacy of Mike Conley, I mean, a lot of people were down on it when the D'Lo trade happened because, oh man, D'Lo's this great scorer and a good shooter and he got us past the playoff hump. Like, oh no, what are we doing? And he just brought this presence of calm. He just brought this presence of, okay, let's calm down. Let's get into our offense, particularly in crunch time. And like you said, I've never heard anyone that I've talked to or around the team say anything negative about Mike Conley. I mean, he's never had a technical in his entire career. I was actually kind of hoping he would get one with us to break that streak, but maybe I'll bet you don't want to be the ref that gives him the technical, like
Exactly.
you probably don't want to be that guy. But Chris, how will you remember Chris Conley or Mike Conley and his legacy here?
Yeah. You were talking, Andrew, and it kind of made me think differently. You're talking about how he's a mouthpiece for Finch and how important that is, which is obviously the veteran thing. It's always great to have that veteran in there. But I wonder if moving him will, like the organization has been so dedicated on putting quality vets next to Anthony Edwards. If it's Rubio, if it's Pat Beverly, if it's Conley, and I think we've went out of our way to treat each one of these veterans very well and extra well when we left them up until this point, maybe, where we gave Beverly a couple-year contract, even though we knew we were getting rid of him. So he's now paid for 2 years when that was his last contract. He wasn't going to get another one type thing. It's surprising we did this with Conley if it's just going to be a tax thing, because I think, and I've talked about it on this podcast, we've went out of our way to support these veterans and kind of really do right by these veterans. And I think that really looks good on an organization, especially a mid-tier organization, that these buyouts, like depending on where this vet wants to go, that can mean a lot. So if it's just tax savings, it's surprising, but I wonder if this is actually going to benefit Anthony Edwards, because it's like, now it's your time to be Finch's mouthpiece.
Yep.
Now it's your time to no longer rely on these, training wheels that the organization has set up for you to succeed. Like, you're the guy now. Maybe it was time to pull the Band-Aid. Legacy, he was fine. He was good. Like, I think he helped. He was always kind of the weak link out there. You wish you had a better point guard each one of those 2 years. We could have probably maybe made a deeper push, but great guy and great competitor.
Yeah, for sure.
Long run.
Yeah, I would just add, Chris, I think you're absolutely right. Like, this is now Ant's team. There is no one else. Cat is gone. Mike is gone.
Yeah.
Rudy is not a mouthpiece. Julius is a very reserved guy. Jaden and Nas certainly aren't mouthpieces. This is now, it is Ant has to be the leader in that locker room. And we're going to find out real quick how that leadership goes. Because if they rattle off and go 8-2, hey, great move. If they go 2-8, then it's, maybe Ant wasn't ready for this.
Yeah.
Right, for sure. And and I feel like the Wolves have, just to your point of the mentors around him, I feel like they've cut bait at the right time. Like you're talking about Rubio, good start. Good to get him going, get him initiated in the league. Then they got rid of him. They got some shooting with Taurean Prince, and then they brought in Patrick Beverly. They brought in some toughness with him, a little bit of grit and grind, a little bit with Patrick Beverly. Cut bait on him at the right time, brought in D'Lo. They were friends, a little bit more of a scorer, a little bit more of a shooter. I'm not sure that was probably less of a integrity move, maybe more of like a scoring kind of move. But then they cut bait on him, and then they brought in Mike Conley, like you said, to kind of.
I would add Austin Rivers into that too.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I'd add Austin Rivers in. They put his locker right next to Ant's, and same thing. 1 year here, and then they cut bait and he retires. Like they've been playing it right so far.
Right. And I haven't heard Mike Conley talk yet, but I don't think that Mike Conley does not seem like the kind of guy who's going to hold a grudge against the Wolves organization. No. I think he probably saw the writing on the wall, and I guarantee you that they probably went to him and explained what's going on. And he's probably known this for a little bit, in my opinion. And I would assume that waking up today, this is not a shock to him. Like, I think his affairs were all in order. Would you agree with that? Or do you think they probably handled it pretty well with Mike, Andrew? Or
I think they handled it as well as they could. Like, obviously, Mike, I think, really enjoys his time here. His kids go to school in Minnesota. Like, one of them plays hockey and is like a pretty darn good hockey player up here. Like, obviously he'd want to stay here, but I do think this organization would do right by him by at least making sure, like, hey, we're going to send you to this place. This is their plan with you, and kind of do as right as they could. Again, I truly wouldn't be surprised if like that dude just shows up on the bench next year as a coach. Like he is beloved in this organization. And again, I can't say anything too definitively yet because the Wolves obviously don't have to talk about it until tomorrow in Toronto, which thankfully John Krasinski will be in Toronto and asking all of the important questions.
Yeah.
Happy accident that John chose to fly out there on his birthday to cover that one. But, you know, we'll learn more then. And then when they come back home after the deadline, obviously everyone will have a little bit more time to ask questions and kind of needle around a little bit. But again, my anticipation is I don't think Mike's just going to be in Chicago. Like I think they'll reroute him to a contender or buy him out, and he'll have the option to go where he wants to. But yeah, it's definitely an end of an era though. Like Mike meant a lot to this team the last, I guess it'd be almost 3 years now.
Yeah. I mean, when you get dubbed Minnesota Mike, that's something. Also, what we got to remember here is you were talking about like his son as a hockey player and him being based in Minnesota. He's been very vocal that, or pretty much that this is the last year. This is probably the end. So really, how long are they? Is he away from Minnesota? At most until June. If whatever team he goes to, they go to the finals. Like that's doable. You know, like if he does want to live in Minnesota or come back as a coach or go somewhere else, it's not like we're sending him and his family to San Antonio or something and they say, hey, rebuild a new life. Like Conley's been in the league for so long. Like he's experienced this before. He experienced this when he got traded to Minnesota from Utah. I mean, this is like whoever team he goes to is a 3 to 4 month rental, if that.
And it's, I mean, Joe Ingles has talked about this before he came to Minnesota in the offseason of just like, when you get traded, you don't have to move your family. Like, you just catch back up with them in the offseason. You live in an apartment or a hotel for a couple months and it kind of is what it is. I think, again, like I'd be surprised if Mike didn't have some inkling that this was going to happen. And I also wouldn't be surprised if they said like, hey, Mike, like, are you cool being traded? And that guy was just like, yeah, whatever's best, whatever you got to do. I mean, he is a pretty upstanding, like big picture, it's a business type of guy as well. I mean, he gets traded from Memphis after he signs the biggest contract in league history, for Pete's sake.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So let me go to this as we kind of wrap up here. By the way, Andrew, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. This whole thing came together about a half hour before we went on. So we appreciate it. And by the way, I should mention I'm hopping on your podcast tomorrow after the Toronto game. Still on for that?
Still on for that. And like I say, we should have some pregame quotes to talk about too.
Yeah.
So. Don't know how much we'll actually talk about the game because it's either going to be a blowout or the Wolves.
It better not be another loss.
Well,
never lost. Never won there.
Say, you know, the trade deadline does weird things to players. I never really believed it until I started like really focusing in and covering these guys. But like when you don't know where you're going to live, or like what you're going to do or where you're going to be, like it just kind of messes with them. So I hope it's not a loss. I hope it's just, you know, clean cut, get the win. But at the same time, you know, if Nas has a super off night, I wouldn't be surprised.
So let me ask you this one last question for you both. Do you think, and I'll start with you, Andrew, do you think that not even the Giannis thing, do you think that this is going to be, when we look back at it, a top tier trade deadline, like crazy trade deadline, somewhere in the middle, or on the lower tier? What do you think is going to look into your crystal ball? And do you think a lot of big names are going to go down or no?
I mean, we've already kind of had a lot.
Yeah, we have had some good. Yeah.
I mean,
do you think that'll continue here?
I do think it'll. maybe not to like this effect. Like, I don't think like Donovan Mitchell or Giannis or some of those guys are getting traded. I wouldn't be surprised if someone gets moved that no one expects, like Sabonis gets sent somewhere, or Siakam from the Pacers gets sent somewhere to kind of tank even further. Or like, I do think there's so much buzz that like something has to happen.
Right.
I don't think it'll be like last year though, where we're looking back on it and it's like Luka got traded and everyone's in shock. So kind of middle of the road. I'd say for the Wolves independently, I'm more kind of the Debbie Downer, rain on the parade guy on the beat right now of, you know, it might just be a salary thing and they sign Kyle, but you know, all we can do is see, which I will say, if they traded Mike out for just to get under the first apron, there's going to be some fans are going to be pretty frustrated. I'm already getting that sense, and the trade deadline is still 36 hours away.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's going to be crazy. It's even like just going through work and just refreshing your phone over and over. Just Shams, like, come on, Shams. Like, what do we got? By the way, do you think that Shams is going to guard Taco Fall in the celebrity game? Like, do you think he can?
I hope they get matched up at least once.
Like, do you think he can body him up?
I think he'll get dunked on. I was watching the Shams put out a couple of like his jump shots, and I was like, okay. I mean, he's probably like a really good normal human being basketball player. Yeah. Taco Fall, even though he's out of the league, is still probably the best basketball player I would have ever played against ever. So,
oh yeah. By the way, my claim to fame for basketball, I played against the Minnesota all-time leading scorer. So, you ever heard of Anders Broman?
I've heard of the name Broman.
Yes, yeah, at Lakeview Christian, a crappy Christian school in Duluth. They had two players. It was Anders and Bjorn, and they together they put up probably 75 points a game. Rest of the team chips in for like 20. Anyway, Chris, what do you think? Do you think big trade deadline, middle of the road, decent trade deadline? What do you think?
I mean, I could see Ja moving still. I could see, like you said, something that we don't hear about. Like, that's what people don't understand about trades is they're fun as heck, you know, and all the rumors and stuff, but almost zero of those that like are put out like, oh, here's an idea. Those are never it. Like, never.
Right.
Like, when a trade happens, you're always like, whoa, I didn't see that happening. Like 90% of the time, it's nothing anyone's ever heard of. So, yeah, I mean, just for the fun of the NBA, I think Ja will move. He seems like a malcontent, and they're cutting bait on that whole team. So Ja, Triple J, Harden, I mean, that's a pretty big trade deadline already. As we talked about, knowing that it kind of messes up your team if you're moving all this money. So, yeah, I would say middle of the road. And I think Giannis I want him to be traded. I feel like he needs to be traded. And I will say, I bet you he gets healthy real fast once the trade goes through.
Well, you were mentioning the Luka trade from last year. It's almost like teams saw what happened after the Luka trade, and they're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that. maybe GMs are going, you know, I kind of want to keep my job. So I probably shouldn't trade our best player, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it'll be middle of the road, and just for like the basketball fan in me, like, I hope Giannis gets traded too, because he's not going to play another game for Milwaukee. Like, he's not going to play another game for him this year. So, like, if you want to see Giannis play basketball this year, he kind of has to. Same with Ja. Like, Ja's not going to just come back and play for the Grizzlies after sitting for half a year. Right. So, for some of these guys, it's like, just as a basketball fan and me wanting to watch them play again, like, I hope they get traded, but we'll see.
Right, for sure. Quickly here, this YouTube comment, Tyler Sco 8327. Must have had a long day for him. Didn't see Twitter. Mike Conley got traded to the Bulls, basically, and there was a pick swap, and the Wolves basically saved some cap room and money. Is that pretty much what happened, Andrew? Am I saying that pretty much right?
Yep. So Mike Conley goes to the Bulls. They don't get a player in return. They are getting some straight cash, homie, as Randy Moss would say, on the side that isn't related to the salary cap. I think cash considerations or something got reported out. And then Detroit is getting the better between the Pistons and the Wolves first round pick in this year draft. So Wolves go from having the quote unquote like 22nd, 23rd pick to wherever the Pistons finish up in the playoffs. So essentially they did a pick swap with Detroit to be able to dump the money on Chicago, which could mean something or it could not.
Right. So there you go, Tyler Sco. By the way, thanks for everyone for commenting and watching on the live stream. Andrew, why don't you tell everyone about your podcast and your stuff at Zone Coverage and where they can find you?
Yeah, all of my social medias, I'm ADukeMN, ADUKEMN, Blue Sky, Twitter, wherever you need to find me. I am credentialed beat reporter for the Wolves for people who don't know. So I post a lot of the like behind the scenes stuff, practice, interview, talking to players, things. Do have a post game Lynx and Wolves show on YouTube and X called the Missing Links for the Lynx, Missing Wolves for the Wolves. And let's see, I write for Zone Coverage, usually have pieces coming out Wednesdays and Saturdays. Last thing I'll just shout out is I have been doing some stuff with Fox 9. So if you're ever bored in the middle of the day, feel free to tune into Amy Hockert's All Day Live. I guest over there about once a week, and then I'm on KFan usually on Sundays with Max and Brett Blakemore.
That's awesome. I didn't know the last two. That's awesome.
So many. My title has gotten to the point where I'm going to have to just start abbreviating things.
Good for you.
Create like a crazy acronym.
Exactly.
Well, Chris, where can people find you? Right here on this episode?
You can, preferably, and don't look for me.
Okay, well, there you go. There you go. Well, thank you both for joining me tonight. By the way, I will say I will be on Andrew's Missing Links podcast. Missing Link. Well, what's the Wolves one? Missing Link?
Missing Wolves.
Missing Wolves.
Missing Links one came first, so I was like, well, branding.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'll be on there tomorrow night. Maybe we're talking a Giannis trade. Maybe we're talking about RJ Barrett. Who knows what we're going to be. Hopefully we're going to be talking about the Wolves snapping that losing streak that goes back to Kevin Garnett and Chris Bosh in Toronto. Sure. That's what this whole Giannis stuff, that's what I'm worried about tomorrow. I kind of want to win in Toronto. Since we started this podcast, that's been my main goal. It's not winning a championship. It's not beating OKC. It's beating Toronto in Toronto. That's all I really want. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching and listening. This is the Running with the Timberwolves podcast. And as always, go Wolves.